Hi, Zizaran here with another video collab with Pohx, and yeah, you know what build it is.
A grave digger.
Hi, Zizaran here with another build collab. This time, it is of course Righteous Fire. So, this is Righteous Fire, and this is a very staple Path of Exile build. Red Ring of Fire around you. A lot of you are already familiar with it, and this is such a good build for league starting. It's really good for clearing. It does fall off a little bit on Ubers and stuff like that, but you will have one of the smoothest and juiciest starts. And this is actually really good if you have any like disabilities or anything like that, maybe only one arm, and you want a build that's less click intensive. This might be the build for you, because you can absolutely run around with just mouse button one or a joystick using like one additional key for fire trap. A lot less intensive on clicking than other builds. If this build guide helps you have a great league start, please consider subscribing. It helps me and my team out a lot. Next up, we're gonna hear from Pohx about how the build plays.
Righteous Fire has a very easy, relaxed playstyle. All you gotta do is activate your Righteous Fire and choose to either walk or shield charge through your maps. For players who want to be a little bit slower because they don't want to spam as much, you can totally get away with just walking and chucking a few fire traps. Note that tanky targets, you're gonna have to chuck a bit more. For players who want to go faster, I recommend comboing your shield charge along with Frostblink so you can maneuver great distances very quickly. You notice this character is at its pinnacle gearing, but it's not even using a Quicksilver Flask or Onslaught, and it could be going much faster. If you come across mobs that are really tanky during the leveling phase, don't forget you can also use your Infernal Cry to help assist with the explosions. For extra tanky targets, you've also got your Punishment Curse. This one's a little bit different than what we're used to. Punishment makes it so that targets take increased damage when they're at lower life, specifically when they're at low life at 50%. When we get to bossing, I like to sit right next to my target. Now Chieftain gets an advantage so that whenever he's standing still, he actually does bonus damage. Now, this character's got quite a bit of damage, but it's also very tanky. If you want to be extra safe, utilize your Frostblink so you can bounce around while keeping up the chill.
During the leveling stages of the build, we'll be using Rolling Magma and Flame Wall. You want to make sure you drop the Flame Wall first, then shoot the Rolling Magma into it for bonus damage. For targets who are extra tanky, we'll also be using Flammability, which we will later change to Punishment.
What's so nice about this build, it's such a great starter because it's so easy to gear and things like that. But let's hear from Pohx about what's changed with the build from last league.
So Righteous Fire last league got a removal of basically your plus gem scaling. This means it's a bit harder to scale into the end game, but it also allows you to scale even faster in the campaign and early maps. One of the nice things about the newest ascendancy we're playing on, which is Chieftain, is you now only have to stack fire resistance. This makes it exceptionally easy for beginners and even mid players because you never have to look for your cold or lightning res ever again. This is one of the awesome advantages with Sallow Cleansing Water. It's also got built-in explodes from the Ascendancy. This really allows it to overperform over the Chieftain and the Juggernaut version without needing expensive boots like Legacy of Fury. This is completely built into the class. Also, it's got the best time on map mods. We have this node called Ramako's Sun's Light, which makes it so any form of elemental resistance never applies to us. Mobs gaining endurance charges doesn't matter. Mobs having fire res does not matter. It does come with some downsides though. Being stationary on Ramako's Sun's Light can be a little tricky when it comes to bossing. For mapping, it's not really too much of a deal. Chieftain also unfortunately doesn't get a massive power spike of sustain from the Ascendancy like Juggernaut or Inquisitor, so you might have a little bit less sustain than you're comfortable with until you pick up some cheap uniques like Rise of the Phoenix or simply get your maximum fire resistance up.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the strong intro. So we're going to look through the Path of Building right now. If you're not familiar with Path of Building, it's a third-party tool we use. It's very useful and you will use it a lot as a Path of Exile player. We do have a video that explains how it's used if you aren't familiar with it. Now, a thing I love mentioning for this is that Pohx has literally a Wikipedia for Righteous Fire. So you can see here, you can search for so many different things like why Frostblink or Flame Dash. Like it'll pretty much answer any question you have. And if you're not able to find it here, then obviously Pohx will be able to answer it live. But do check this first. He's put so much effort into it, and I love showing off. It's like the most advanced thing I've seen for a build. So this is something he plays so much. So check that out at Pohx.net. So this is Path of Building, and as per usual, Pohx has made it like a very nice, easy to follow step by step. And you can see that like ascendancies are built into this as well, so you know exactly what you're taking at what point. So one thing that's a little bit different with this build is that you will need to mule, because a marauder doesn't get all the gems you need. Be careful that you don't level up your rolling magma and stuff, because then when you make that new marauder, it won't be able to use them because of the level requirement. So just right click the gem, or just don't touch the gem level up at all. But these are the gems you will need to grab from a witch, and you're just doing breaking some eggs and mercy mission. Other than that, very straightforward here with what you're leveling with early on. So already at level 20, you can switch to Righteous Fire. You do need to do Iron Ring Ruby recipe, most likely. It's a red gem and Iron Ring. Or if you're able to buy the Ruby Rings from the vendor, that's fine as well. Very easy. You get support gems in library, at least some of them. And it's so nice to be able to play your main build later on. So it's quite straightforward. And then later on here, you can see like one of the different endgame setups. And this is more of like a cheap starter, not listing all the awakened gems, etc. And there are a more min-max setup in here as well. If you look through gear, you can see that it's very straightforward, and he's put loads of like notes, like the red color and the yellow color, with extra tips for early on. So make sure you read through those. There's so much hand-holding in this guide, which you might need. Other than that, the gear early on, you just get life and resist, etc. And it gives you a good idea of what to go for. And then if we move forward here to like the little bit of an endgame setup, you can see that there's not a crazy amount of uniques in this, and that makes it a really good starter. You really don't want to rely too much on uniques, especially if you're solo self and you might have a really hard time finding them. Thankfully, both of these are relatively common, and in Tradely, they're pretty easy to buy. They're not going to set you back multiple divines. You can also see the rest of the gear is quite straightforward. Even at this point, it's not crazy to make. And since you're getting so much of a carry from the Chieftain Explosion, this is going to feel so good. Like even without necessarily having a large amount of gear. Now there's no suppression or anything in this build, so it's very easy to actually gear. So here is a endgame setup, but not using Adorned. So there's two different setups. The Adorned is a little bit more complicated. But these are loads of different uniques that you can go for at the endgame to like really min-max your build. So once you have like a little bit more of a budget and stuff like that. And there are some additional notes in the campaign here, but obviously most things are mentioned in the Pohx.net Wikipedia. So make sure you check that out. So Pohx, is there anything that's really easy to mess up with this build?
The main thing that people could mess up on is when you're ready to drop Determination in favor of Malevolence because you want more damage, you want to make sure you're swapping with enough physical damage taken as X element. Primarily, we acquire this through Cloak of Flame, but I also add additional notes on how to get this inside the POB. You want about 60% conversion before you're able to drop your Determination.
So there you have it. I love doing these collabs with Pohx, and he is league starting this. So you can watch him tomorrow at the Necropolis launch. Go check him out. Give him some love. He has so much good content about this, both on his YouTube and his Twitch channel. And there will probably never be anything as comprehensive for Righteous Fire. So absolutely huge shout out to Pohx for all the hard work there, and give him a lot of love. I hope you guys enjoy these collabs. If you do, consider subscribing to the video, but more importantly, have a great time in Necropolis League and try to die less than I do.